Space looking at the brand new Honda HR-V. I took my private jet out here to take a look at these guys, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, but I'm going to be 100% honest with you, there will be no driving of these. This is just a first look, so let's dive right in. Now the exterior dimensions, take a look at these guys. It's no longer based on the Honda Fit it replaces, however, it is still made in Mexico. Now, dimensionally, compared to the previous generation HR-V, it's just bigger. I mean, I don't have an old one compared to this, but all you have to do is take a look at it for about 2 seconds, interior and exterior. So let me give you the numbers. Now, these aren't 100% sure, but it rides on a 1.7-inch longer wheelbase, a 9.4 inches longer, it's 0.2 inches taller, and overall it's 2.6 inches wider. That doesn't even take into account the interior dimensions. So there's 3 trims, LX, EXL, and Sport. This is the Sport trim. It gets matte finishes on the outside, no piano gloss. It has an exhaust pipe in the back, so it looks like you're sporty. The EXL and the other trim hide the exhaust pipe to make it look more clean. Other accents on the outside are just what you typically see with Honda stuff. This is their next generation design, so it is more youthful a bit in my perception. It's less stodgy, less truckish, and just more refined. And there's LED lighting, and there's just other accents all the way around this that just makes it feel much more up to date. But the big story is the hatch. Let's take a look at that. There's something tremendous about the rump of the HR-V, and that is, regardless of your trim level, it has a manual hatch, no electronics. So opening and closing, or look at this, it's easy. And you know, you might argue it'd be nice to have it on a remote. Well, that's not what this has, and I think it's better for it. The rear seats fold down absolutely flat, and that's because they've adjusted the rear seat design to kind of bump you up when you're sitting in the back, but when you go to put the seats down, it's hinged so they get lower. So the load floor all the way across is nice and even. It makes it an enormous space, even compared to the Honda Civic hatchback. This, again, when you look at it, is much larger than the HR-V, which it replaces. Underneath the felt in the back, there's little cubbies to hold things in typical Honda fashion. They are super usable, and then there's a spare underneath all of this. But let's get in the back seats. So on the interior, you're not getting any trade-offs regardless of trim level. I'm in the Sport trim, which means you have orange stitching. That's how you know. You also have cloth seats here, and the cloth seats feel great. Honestly, they're super durable, and you can tell that it's gonna breathe well. So even if I'm wearing a tankini, I'm not gonna sweat through all of this. The overall seating room is enormous. Even with the seats in a reasonable, the seats in front of you in a reasonable position, you can really kind of just get comfortable back here. Now, they do not lean back. That might be a detractor for some, but I can see getting in and out of this quite easy. And the door doesn't open 90 degrees in the back, but there's very few vehicles in this class that do something like that. But let's head into the front. I'm gonna kind of break down some of the pros and cons, and then of course, the difference in trim levels. Oh yeah, this is the EXL, top trim level. You start all the way at the LX, that's front wheel drive, 23,650. When you go up to this bad boy, EXL with leather, you're talking 28,950, or thereabouts, and that's without destination. Now, obviously you have the ability to go all-wheel drive or front wheel drive. And the big difference here is this is built on Honda's global platform, which has some remnants compared to the Civic. So when you get on the inside in terms of usability, dash layout, all of that, that's what you get. This also has an independent rear suspension, so no torsion beam here like some brands are trying to do to cost cut. So I don't know how it drives, but we're not even gonna cover that anyway. Let's look at this space. Overall, the door panels and the rear cargo hold have textured plastics, like on this kick panel here on the door and in the back. I've been told it's for durability. It doesn't show scratches as much. That's a nice touch if you're using this, like throwing in pets or your lizard collection. The door panels are pretty solid overall. They feel very durable. They're gonna hold a bottle. They're gonna hold most of your things. And overall, the ergonomics and some of the placement for little things that you're going to put in here is very usable, in many cases better than the Civic, which is why you're buying this over that. You want the cargo, you want the utility of it. So there is minimal very minimal use of any gloss black plastic, even the EXL, just on the steering wheel, which doesn't really make a lot of sense in the high input points. But the overall center dash is low glare. It's a low glare material across the whole part of this car, so you're not going to be blinded. It carries over that kind of honeycombish grille across the whole center, so if you like that, you're going to obviously like that here. It's very clean, and the dashboard size is very shrunken down compared to many cars. This goes to like more of a throwback compared to like some of the 90s and early 2000s Hondas, where, you know, they kind of went to a shrunken down design and then it got huge and now it's back to kind of normal. So what it makes it feel is much more airy. You have great visibility in here, and with the XL you get the smaller moonroof, which, you know, some people are going to like. As you go up the trim levels, obviously what you're going to get is just more features, but overall from what I can see here, aside from the infotainment being slightly different on the upper trim, you get a bigger screen, more usability, you get a wireless charger, typical things that they're gonna make you pay more for. There's not a huge price spread, which is good. And you know, gauge cluster is very similar. All of these things feel like what you're used to with a typical Honda vehicle. There's just more to like here. It just feels bigger to me and more comfortable. So obviously I'm sitting in this car for essentially a couple hours. So all I can point out is the obvious and some of the pros and the cons. And really the biggest pro between even the sport trim that they have here in the studio and this EXL is there's not a huge penalty between the two trims. The thing that Honda has done amazing here in this generation of car, and a lot of this is carryover from the Civic, is maintaining solid physical controls for every core function. From your window switches to your steering wheel, it's all matte, it's super clicky. Your HVAC controls are probably some of the best design in this price point. You can utilize it completely with muscle memory without ever having to look down or being distracted. They maintain physical controls on the infotainment on both trim levels, so even though you get a smaller screen in the Sport, they have physical buttons across the whole lower plane of the screen, so you can kind of see where you need to go. It's super simple to use, very simple to use, and that is one of the best parts about sitting in this car for the first time. It's a minimally frustrating experience and something you're going to get in and just get like that without having to learn too much. They've also paid attention to what the modern customer is probably going to want in here, young or old. There is a USB-C port for the driver and passenger, easily accessible to drop your phone in this center hiding space so your phone is not like flying all over. And even in the back, as my Honda rep pointed out, there is capacitive touch lighting. So all you have to do is tap in the back. So if you're lost at night and the lights are off, you can kind of just feel around the roof line, tap it, and the lights will turn on. Again, usability is a highlight of what the HR-V is trying to accomplish. And the price point is also just really good for the modern era of SUVs and CUVs. All right, so to close this out, I don't do a lot of first look videos because they don't really add a lot of value. You can't drive the car, you can't really look at the technical details. You can only look at it from a bird's eye view. And just based on kind of this short period of time, I think for the customer that's gonna be buying this and the things that you're looking at, this is really no nonsense. The styling is obviously completely subjective, but interior space, layout, usability is what Honda is best at here. I think the combination of the usability of the hatch space, the cargo room, the comfort, and the price, and given some of the technology features, this is going to be an exciting one. And the fact that it does have independent rear suspension and some of the things that make the Civic so great, this should be really good to drive as well as a daily commuter. So we'll see you in the next video, and hopefully we'll have a full video on this thing in the future. Thanks for watching.